On air, the Bank of England Monetary Policy Committee has reported that interest rates will stay at 0.5%, which is a historic low, and they look like staying that way for some time to come. The economy, of course, has been dominating this conference with George Osborne's speech, but have they convinced the wider public that they know how to run the economy better than Labour, how to cut that deficit without hacking into frontline services? Let's get the view of two of the journalists who are here to look ahead to the speech of Mr Cameron and look back at what's been happening here in Manchester. I'm joined by Sam Coates of The Times and Peter Hitchens from the Mail on Sunday. Welcome to you both. So, Sam, have they done it? Have they pulled it off?
We've had the bad news, and I think David Cameron this afternoon is going to give a little bit more of an optimistic vision. He's going to say, why us, why now, why me? A question that rather a lot of us are asking after 30 days of the party conference season. But I think he's promising to put forward some reason, some sort of vision of hope about what life might be like under a Conservative government.
But this was predictable. It was predictable, was it not, that the Shadow Chancellor would give the bad stuff, because that's what Shadow Chancellors usually have to do in bad times, and the leader still says, but if we get through the bad stuff, we go to the sunny uplands. I mean, there's nothing original in this, is there?
No, but I don't think that really matters. In fact, who's watching any of this? I mean, I'm not sure that this week will have made...
What do you mean, who's watching any of this?
Apart
Millions
from the
out there, hanging on your every word.
But I'm not sure that a great deal will have moved after the end of this week, or indeed after the end of the last 4 weeks.
Do you still think they're going to lose the next election?
I still think they can lose.
Well, that's different.
I think. Well, I mean, it depends. I'm reduced to offering the Labour Party advice on how to win. It is ridiculous how they're giving it away to them. We see from the latest populist poll that they intend to float into office on a tide of Gordon Brown's negative charisma. They've got no positive charisma for their own leader, and no positive desire to have them there.
That's how all oppositions win elections.
No, it's not. I think particularly in 1997, it was definitely Blair's positive charisma that was doing it. People actually were sucked in by his extraordinary Princess Diana-like charms. David Cameron is perhaps too intelligent to be a political Princess Diana, and it's one of the reasons why it doesn't quite work with him. But Gordon Brown's negative charisma is so powerful, all the Labour Party needs to do is settle on an alternative, and they've immediately changed the whole pattern of the election.
See, I wonder if they should listen to the media at all, because a couple of weeks ago the media narrative was, we don't know what they're going to cut, we don't know what they would do, it's an empty vessel. Now George Osborne has come out with just a down payment, but some specific plans. The media narrative is, oh, that's a bit dangerous, oh, maybe he's done too much, it's like John Smith in 1992. Well, I mean, he can't be wrong both ways.
No. I mean, it's quite interesting that actually they realise that there isn't the tide of euphoria that that Peter's has recognised. Greg Clark described it as not the yes please of 1997, but the yes but of 2009, next year 2010. And I think the fact that they recognise that there isn't a kind of, a grateful public welcoming them with open arms is a good thing and a sort of positive for that thing then, because they don't have the burden of extraordinary expectations and a requirement to deliver from day one in the way that Tony Blair had, that led to the kind of eye-catching initiativitis that caused lots of problems.
They do have a burden of expectations. They have a burden of expectation from their own supporters, who actually believe that a Conservative government will be substantially different from a Brown government. The interesting thing about this conference is the way in which so many of the platform speeches often are actually written very much as the columns of Conservative commentators are written, with whole masses of criticisms of all the horrible things about our society. When you get to the end of them, I think, for instance, Michael Gove makes a brilliant speech in favour of selective education, and at the end of it says, well, actually, we're not going to have selective education. And the Shadow Home Secretary, whose name escapes me for the moment, makes a speech about how everything's horrible on the streets and policemen are getting beaten up and nothing's happening to them, and then comes up with no proposals to deal with it. The truth is that ideologically they're so close to Gordon Brown that they're going to disappoint an awful lot of people within months of coming to office. What they're trying to do at the moment is to prevent them from realising.
Are they ideologically close to Gordon Brown? I mean, a lot of them here say privately they're actually quite close to Tony Blair, but there would be Tony Blair without Gordon Brown, who stopped Blair from doing a lot of what Blair wanted to do.
Absolutely.
It's a myth.
A myth?
Completely, Blair could have done anything he wanted to if he wanted to. The fact was that he didn't, and Gordon Brown was the excuse. And it's always been New Labour's excuse, and it's the same now. The Tories like to pretend that there's a difference, just as the many Tory voters who were sucked into the Labour project say, oh, well, I can't stand Gordon Brown now. These are the people who made him Chancellor of the Exchequer by voting for him in 1997.
Can he say something now?
Well, I suppose so.
Which is exactly...
You didn't invite me here to be quiet.
Which is exactly why there's a lot of dog whistling going. And I thought the most interesting interview given by David Cameron was the one before the conference season to The Spectator, where he started talking about the need to go from A to B to C to D, policy-wise. You know, are we going to get A today, or are we going to get D? Do we actually know where they're going to go? We don't, actually, because they are, as Peter's saying, keeping a very, very tight gap.
I'm still trying to work out what A is. Anyway, we thank you both for being with us on the show.